Alright guys, today we're going to be unboxing an Orbit sprinkler kit. I bought this for 130 bucks on Amazon. You can also get it on homedepot.com. So we're going to open it up right now and take a look. This particular Orbit model came with the Wi-Fi B-Hyve controller. Comes with a complete set of instructions. You're probably actually going to want to read through this. They're going to go over pressures and how to line up your sprinklers and ensure that it's properly set up. And sprinkler heads. All sorts of different fittings. These use a compression type fitting, so you can rearrange it without having to cut and start over. Pressure gauge, you'll need this to measure the pressure of your faucet spigot. That'll determine how far your Orbit will spray. It comes with the tool to cut the tubing. And here's the controller. Pretty neat for 130 bucks. Basically, from what it says online, this kit will do 1 to 3,000 square feet, which is pretty vague, but it's one zone. Depends on your water pressure and the amount of volume your city water, well water puts out. So you want to measure those things and take that into account. This is really going to be nice to have an automated system. Where I live, we have specific watering days, as we have a watering ban, so we can only water Wednesdays and Saturdays. So this helps automate the system. If there's rain, you can turn it off so you don't waste water for no reason. And it's just a more efficient way, and it's going to be a lot easier than having to drag some sprinklers everywhere.
Alright, as you guys can see, I already got the Orbit B-Hyve module attached to my faucet, and I've already hooked it up and done some setup in the house. So we're going to go ahead and get started on setting up this sprinkler system. Alright, first thing I've done is I've laid out my blue lock line in the sun to help it make it more pliable and workable. Alright, I've gone ahead and laid out my plans using Visio. You could use regular graph paper too, but Visio makes it easy to change things around. So I'm going to put my sprinkler heads where all the dark black dots are, and then the patterns will go according to their resulting circles. Using that supplied guide, I've gone ahead and placed the sprinkler heads around the yard using a measuring tape, and just double checking my measurements as I go. So before I got started, I hooked this up to my faucet on the house that I'm going to use for this irrigation system. You're going to want to ensure that you have at least 35 psi according to the instructions. I have 55. You'll find inside the manual an estimation of how many feet the water will shoot. That's just an estimate, so you'll have to set it up prior and ensure that you get complete coverage of your yard. Alright guys, next thing you're going to want to do is take your sprinkler head and you're going to want to attach these fittings to it. They didn't provide any Teflon in the instructions, and I went on Amazon to see if anyone had any questions. You don't need Teflon tape, it says, so we're going to find out. I'm just going to go ahead and screw them in as tight as I can by hand and go ahead and get started on installing this. Alright, now that we've got all those attached, we're going to go ahead and take these fittings. There's a limited supply of fittings here. It's basically to do the layout that they suggest. Mine's pretty similar, so I'm going to make it do some curves and bends in the hose. If you need more, I believe this stuff is available at Home Depot to get new fittings, different fittings, and different interconnects. Also obviously more hose. So this is a compression type fitting, so there's no need to any glue or any of those things. So how many times you can cycle these connectors, I'm not sure. So make sure you plan it out wisely. Alright guys, if you're having trouble keeping your irrigation hose in line, I recommend some of these camping tent spikes. You just push them on, they'll hold your irrigation lines on the lawn while you're setting up and routing your lines. It'll help you get a more accurate result. Alright guys, I got this all set up and ready to go. I've had to make some alterations in the corner of the yard. There wasn't enough hose to reach it, so I've changed the orientation to bring in one of the sprinklers closer to the middle of the yard. It's not a huge deal, largely because the trees kind of shade over there and later in the day, so there's no need for it. It's just most important to keep my driveway and the street side wet, as that's where a lot of the sun beat down happens. Now before I go any further, I'm going to adjust the sprinkler heads to make sure the pattern actually kind of makes sense.
Whatever heads you have that are pointing in the wrong direction, you can go ahead and adjust those heads. According to the manual, you can adjust the range and the radius of how far it shoots and the distance from the head that it shoots. Once you have this all set, you can go ahead and start getting ready to dig in your lines. Next, I went ahead and started to dig the lines in using a shovel and an edging tool. The edging tool only allows you to get about 5 inches deep or so, and it takes a lot of work. This is by far the most difficult part of the job for me. It's recommended you do 8 inches. It helps clear aeration, digging, and if you plan on driving over it, you'll definitely want to make sure it's that full 8 inches of depth. This was during the COVID outbreak, so I couldn't really get to the store to get any rental options, and I just wanted to get it done. This is my front yard. I don't really do anything big. I don't drive over it, so I figured this would suffice. It was definitely a lot of work, and I recommend taking time to rent the machine, especially if you're doing more than one of these in an installation. You'll also see that you'll want to dig pretty deep holes for the sprinkler heads. It gives you a lot of room to work. Make sure you save your sod, put it in a wheelbarrow or put it to the side, so that way you can put your sod back in place, and with the new sprinklers it'll water in nicely and grow back. That way you don't have bare patches in your lawn. Once everything's dug in, you want to go ahead and put back a little bit of the dirt to keep everything steady, and then retest your sprinklers again.
Alright, well, we've got them all situated in. I used a round shovel to get me started. I edged and it went over the edge about 3 times, really aggressively back and forth. Push it down as deep as I can. The deeper the edge, the better. Or you can rent a machine to do this, which isn't a bad idea either. But we'll go ahead and turn it on and test it again one more time for leaks before we cover everything up. Alright guys, that's it. I got it all up and running. Put the sod back from my trenches, stomped them down, and I'm going to let this settle for a few days before I go ahead and make any more fine-tuning adjustments. Overall, I'm pretty happy. Sprays the full 20-21 feet that they advertise, and this is a great setup for anyone who's looking for an irrigation system for just 1 or 2 spots in their yard, and rather than paying for an entire professional system. This is definitely an interesting way to go.